She asked her killers to pray with her. They shot her anyway. What happened to Eve Carson will haunt you forever. At 5 a.m. on March 5th, 2008, the quiet streets of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, were shattered by gunshots and a scream. A woman living near the University of North Carolina campus was jolted from her sleep. She heard the shots, then a single, terrifying scream that cut through the early morning darkness. She called the police immediately. When officers arrived, they discovered the body of a young woman lying on the ground. She had been shot multiple times. There was no identification, no phone, no wallet, nothing to tell them who she was. At that moment, investigators had no suspects, no motive, nothing except a body on a street. Just a few hours later, a phone call would change everything. A group of roommates had returned to their off-campus home after being out at a party until approximately 4:30 a.m. When they walked through the front door, they immediately knew something was wrong. The door was wide open. The lights were still on. Their roommate, a 22-year-old woman named Eve Carson, was nowhere to be found. Her car was also missing. One of Eve's friends contacted the police to report her missing. The police shared something that sent a chill through the room. They had discovered a body earlier that morning. The victim was still unidentified. They showed Eve's friend a photograph of the deceased. The friend recognized her instantly. Eve Carson was dead. To understand the tragedy of what happened that night, we must first understand who Eve Carson was. Eve Marie Carson was born on November 19, 1985, in Athens, Georgia. From the very beginning, she demonstrated a drive and focus that set her apart from her peers. During high school, Eve held the position of vice president of the student council. She volunteered at a nursing home and at a shelter for abused teenagers. While still a high school student, Eve worked as a congressional page in Washington, D.C. She assisted in a stem cell research laboratory. After graduating with honors, Eve attended the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. There, she pursued a double major in political science and biology. Eve quickly rose as a campus leader, taking on significant roles in various student organizations. She was involved in nearly every major group on campus. Everyone knew her. Everyone respected her. Her charitable efforts continued as well. Eve taught science at an elementary school, inspiring young children to pursue knowledge. She traveled internationally for volunteer work, spending a summer in Ecuador helping doctors treat patients. She studied for a semester in Cuba, expanding her understanding of different cultures. She joined a research team in Egypt, contributing to important scientific work. Even before graduation, she had secured a job offer from a major company. In February 2008, Eve was 22 years old and in her final year of college. Her life was full of promise. On the night of March 5, 2008, around 1:30 a.m., Eve's roommates were preparing to go out to a party and invited Eve to join them. She declined. Eve had classes the next day. She had studying to do. She told her friends she would stay home and focus on her work. Her friends left without her and didn't return until approximately 4:30 in the morning. When they arrived back at the house, they immediately sensed that something was wrong. The front door was wide open. The lights were still on. Eve was nowhere to be found. Her car was also gone. They tried calling her phone. It went straight to voicemail. By the next day, Eve was still missing. That's when one of Eve's friends contacted the police. The investigators listened to the details of Eve's disappearance. Then they shared something that would forever change the lives of everyone in that room. Earlier that morning, police had discovered the body of a young woman. Her identity was still unknown. They described the victim's appearance and asked if it matched Eve's description. The friend confirmed it did. Then they showed her a photograph of the victim. Eve's friend instantly recognized her. It was Eve. Police had received the first call about the shooting around 5 a.m. A woman living about a mile from Eve's home had been abruptly woken by the sound of gunshots. When officers arrived, they found a young woman's body lying on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds. At 1:30 a.m., Eve was at home studying. By 5 a.m., her body was found just a mile away. Since Eve's car was missing, investigators began to suspect a robbery. This theory gained weight when a search of her room revealed that her wallet and credit cards were missing. Medical examiners confirmed there were no signs of sexual assault, ruling out that as a motive. Then the detectives received their first significant lead. A car matching Eve's description was discovered abandoned just a few miles from her home. Authorities quickly sent the vehicle to forensics for fingerprinting and DNA testing. Meanwhile, forensic experts examined Eve's computer and found it had been active until approximately 3:30 a.m. This was critical. It indicated that Eve was still at home for at least 2 hours after her friends had left. The timeline was coming together, but it raised more questions than it answered. Investigators received a crucial breakthrough. Since it appeared the killer had taken Eve's credit cards, the police examined her transaction history. Just 18 minutes after Eve last used her computer, someone withdrew $700 from her account through 2 separate transactions. Detectives requested the security footage. The footage revealed a man sitting inside Eve's car using her card at the ATM. In the back seat, there appeared to be another person. Then, on March 7th, the suspect showed up at a convenience store and tried to use the ATM. Reviewing the footage, they saw someone attempting to use Eve's card. But it was not the same man seen in the earlier ATM video. More than one person was involved. Everything changed on March 12th when an anonymous caller came forward. The anonymous caller identified the man in the second video as Dario Atwater. At only 21 years old, he already had an extensive criminal history, including multiple arrests for robbery, assault, and drug offenses. Police discovered that Dario was frequently communicating with a 17-year-old named Lawrence Levette, who already had his own criminal record. When detectives reviewed Lawrence's mugshot, they immediately recognized him as the person driving Eve's car in the first ATM footage. Both suspects were charged. Cell phone data revealed that on the night of Eve's murder, both suspects' phones connected to a cell tower near her neighborhood. Detectives suspect that Dario and Lawrence randomly targeted Eve, simply searching for someone to rob. Prosecutors made a calculated offer to Dario. Plead guilty in exchange for removing the death penalty threat. Dario accepted. Dario confessed that he and Lawrence went out that night planning to commit a robbery. While driving through a neighborhood, they noticed Eve through a window in her house. Armed with their guns, they broke in and forced her into her own car. They drove to several ATMs, attempting to withdraw money. Eve pleaded with them to let her go, promising she wouldn't say a word. According to Dario, they decided to kill her because she had seen their faces. They took her to a deserted street and shot her multiple times. Dario shared something heartbreaking. Just before they killed her, Eve asked them to pray with her. Instead of showing any mercy, they coldly shot her down.